Okay, guys, this is what is it? Saturday, April 4th, 2026. This is gonna be quick and dirty. It's definitely gonna be dirty. Hopefully, it'll be quick. And I'm trying to kill like 10 birds with one stone because I don't have a lot of time. So basically, I got an email. It was either last night or early this morning from this guy Jason. He bought the M.A.D pedal, and he's having trouble getting the Swell to work with his rigs. And he told me he tried 4 different amps. He tried a Fender Tweed Blues Junior, a 70s Fender Vibro-Champ, the same amp I'm going into today, and a one of the Marshall DSLs, and then a solid state Vox Pathfinder. Those 4 amps. No Swell. Now, I'm going to go into this Vibro-Champ because he has one, just to show him how to get the Swell to work. But this is not by any means a demo of this pedal. This is a shitty setup for this pedal. This pedal is designed for larger, higher powered amps. And to my ears, that's just where it shines. Of course, everything's subjective, but everything matters as well. Not just in terms of the tone controls on the pedal, but your guitar and your amp and other pedals will definitely impact the Swell. Now, Swell always works best on the neck pickup. I'm going to keep it on the neck pickup with the volume and tones all the way open. You can use any other settings at extreme Swell settings. It'll work the way I've designed it, much better than, say, like the Prescription Electronic Experience Swell. But you've got to have it kind of at an intense setting. Then it's kind of anything goes. So everything's very interactive. As far as pedals, guys, almost anything goes before M.A.D. After M.A.D, you can run other pedals, but they can't be buffered bypass. They'd have to be true bypass and switched off. So the output of M.A.D is seeing the input of a tube amp. Okay, the reason the solid state amps don't work and a lot of modelers and stuff is because they have a differently designed input section that does not jive with the output of M.A.D. There's a lot of details. I'd like to do a really in-depth video where I go over all the schematic and the history and development of this, what Jack Brossart did and everything. That would be really great. But I just do not have the time. I spend half of my day on Instagram and Facebook messaging millennials. Just email me direct, guys, like Jason did. Or I'd rather give out my freaking phone number at this point. But anyway, no buffered bypass pedals after, okay? Now, most of what I'm going to say right now has to do with the settings on the pedal. Hopefully the audio is all right. I need to clean the input jack on my phone. My phone's running out of battery here. And it just is what it is. So let's move down to the pedal. I'm going to set it. It's set already for kind of the bare minimum of what you need to get the Swell to do anything. And even at this setting, it's very mild. You're only going to hear any Swell effect on the pick attack of the note, okay? Now, this is the bypass signal of the Strat into the amp, right? Swell will only work with all 3 sections of M.A.D on. You have to have Fuzz, Octave, and Swell engaged. For example, if I kick on the Swell, nothing. I can move all the knobs, nothing will happen. I can kick on the Octave. It's just clean bypass signal. Nothing happens when I change the knobs. It's not until I turn on the Fuzz that these will individually, Swell and Octave, make a difference. Here's your Fuzz, Octave, and then the Swell. And then your Swell's volume control is labeled Swell. That's just the master volume for the Swell section. You'd have to kind of A-B that where you want it with the Fuzz and Octave sections. And see where you want it for how you want to use the pedal. That's subjective, okay? But for instance, say I play a line higher up, right, at this minimum setting, because you're only going to get Swell effect at higher settings on the neck. The higher you play on the neck, you know what I mean, with really minimum settings. So here's an Octave and Fuzz only. Right? Fuzz, Octave, and Swell. really subtle, but you can hear that kind of bowed string, violin, cello like note attack, right? It's really subtle. And that's because everything interacts. Now, your most interactive control with the swell is your tone of the fuzz section and the expand of the swell. You will get no swell if you don't have the tone setting at least at noon or below. The lower you go with the tone, the more intense the swell will become. All right? So for example, I'll leave expand at noon, and I'm just going to nudge the tone down a hair, not even to 11, but just a hair off of high noon. Right? And now your expand control will start to work. It won't even really make any difference in the sound at settings of the tone control that are noon and above. Okay? Now your fuzz interacts with swell as well as the fuzz volume. Okay? The higher you go with the fuzz takes away the swell because it introduces more highs. And the way the circuit works is too hard. Like, I don't have enough time to explain. But basically, if you dime the fuzz, your swell will sort of get less intense as well. So a lower fuzz setting will give you a little bit more. Actually, that's not the best tone setting, but basically, you know, if you have the swell so it's actually not just simmer, but it's starting to cook a little bit below noon on the tone, your fuzz will become more interactive. Okay, another thing to note is the lower you go with expand, the kind of faster the rise of the swell will be. Right? And then the more you go up with expand, the slower the note bloom will be, and it'll be more intense. Okay. So again, look, I would never play this pedal into a Fender Vibro-Champ. Jason, this is not the amp I would recommend. This is just to show you how to get it to work, okay? I think you'd be happier with the Marshall. I don't know the Marshall DSL schematic off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure the input of that is direct coupled to a tube amp. To the grid of your tube, rather. Most guitar amps that are tube-based have a direct coupling between the input and the grid of your first tube, and they will work. There are some other oddball amps out there. Some Vox from the 60s won't work. Most AC30s and stuff should be fine. Almost any guitar tube amp will work, okay? So, like, the way I like to set this up for, like, say, a Fender Twin, which is almost the same input section as the Vibro-Champ, is I'd probably leave the tone, I would dial the indicator up to about where the P is on amp, on your output jack graphic, and then I would keep expand below noon, and then the volume of your fuzz will push the swell as well, and that'll make it more intense. So I like to nudge the volume up a hair from where I would typically have it if I was just using the fuzz and octave. I mean, it depends too on like the band situation or live or how you like to use the pedal. But again, everything will interact. So your volume of your fuzz, your tone of your fuzz, and the fuzz control itself will all come into play as far as the performance of the swell feature. And he also said, too, Jason mentioned, well, it doesn't work as a reverse delay. It's not a reverse delay, Jason, okay? What this is it's a type of volume swell, but it's a very specific and unique type at certain settings that will mimic reverse tape, where they, in the 60s, the psychedelic bands like the Beatles, Tomorrow Never Knows, Jimi Hendrix, a lot of psychedelic 60s era use that technique where they would run tape backwards. And I'll try to give you a taste of maybe what that would be like. So maybe I'll just leave it there and see what we get. Like, No, so if I go down lower on the neck, you don't really have... You don't really have much swell. It's more of like an extra gain stage. And then as I creep higher up the neck at this kind of a mid setting, the note bloom will be more dramatic. And it gets really dynamic where you're lower playing on the neck. There isn't almost any swell in terms of volume. And then the higher you go, the swell will start to actually bloom. Your note bloom will rise up, okay? So that would be like... that's kind of like a midpoint. Now, if I creep down on the tone control, say bring it just down to like maybe 9 o'clock, right? And I crank up the expand almost all the way, or all the way up, you're gonna get a much more intense swell in terms of the volume swell. It's just a different animal at that point. That's almost too dramatic and avant-garde for the type of playing I like to do. But, the lower you go with your tone, the more swell you'll get, the more your expand will work. Lower expand will give you a less dramatic. And then higher settings. Do you know what I mean? So I hope you get the point of what I'm trying to say, is that everything matters. And again, don't play it through this amp unless you like it. I don't. But it will work. But you've got to take into account all of your settings and then all of your other gear in order for the swell to work. So I hope that helps you out. Obviously, if you have any questions after seeing this and you still can't get it to work, shoot me an email. Now, your guitar is very sensitive. Darker humbucker guitars tend to work a little better. And then a really bright trebly guitar, like on the neck pickup, like a 60s Rick with a really tiny treble cap, it's not going to work as well, even at extreme settings of the swell control. So I hope this helps people. If I get a chance to breathe in the future, I'll do a more in-depth video. But quick and dirty for today, guys.